All right, good evening. This is Tuesday, June 10th, meeting of the Town of Berlin Planning Board. As a preliminary matter, please note this meeting is being recorded and that some of the attendees are participating by video conference. This is Tom Sanford, Chair of the Board. Permit me to confirm that all members of the board are present and can hear me prior to me calling the meeting to order. Planning Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Jay Teach.
Here.
Timothy Wheeler.
Yeah.
Carolyn McDonald.
Here.
Thomas Andrew.
Aye. Here.
Excellent. With a quorum of the board present, I call this meeting to order at 7:38 PM Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. This is an open meeting of the planning board being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. Specific information and general guidelines for the remote participation by members of the public can be found on the Town of Berlin website. Governor's order suspends the requirement of an open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, the planning board is convening using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join this meeting. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After their concluding remarks, I will invite each board member by name to provide comments, questions, penetrating insights, and/or motions. Please hold all your insights until your name is called. Board members and speakers, please remember to mute your telephone or computer when you're not speaking. Speak clearly to ensure accurate minutes are recorded. And for any response, please wait until you're yielded the floor. State your name before speaking. If a board member wishes to engage in conversation with another, please do so through me to avoid multiple conversations happening at the same time. Lastly, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you all for your understanding and cooperation. All righty. Do we have any administrative matters that we want to dispense with in the next 5 minutes? Can you say that again?
Your connection is terrible.
Tom is calling in from Mars.
Previous Congress.
Hmm.
Can you try that again?
A minute.
Oh,
Okay, is that better?
That's
Right.
much better.
Yeah, for some reason, I was over the telephone lines rather than the internet for a moment there. I did a quick Google looking at the statute, and it does seem to me that the 120 days would occur and be activated upon the sale in this case, where there's an intention to convert it to residential use. So I think it's certainly worth talking, dropping a dime with town council on that. Okay.
all right.
Okay.
I actually have a meeting tomorrow with town council anyway.
Yeah.
I will add it to my little list.
That's two different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I do think that I do think it's activated on the sale in this particular case.
But you say two different criteria. One is the sale, and the other is the intent to change the use.
Correct.
Is it both? Neither, one or the other? It's two different things.
Well, yeah, no, I think if I'm selling it with a deed restriction or something like that, I think that, and again, I haven't looked at this in a while, but I think that if you were selling it with a deed restriction for conservation or something like that, that it probably might not be activated. But just a minute.
Yeah, because when I looked at it, I didn't think the sale mattered. I think what mattered was the intent to change use, which is presumably filing a building permit.
Yep. Yeah, it says a private sale cannot proceed until the municipality waives its right or the 120-day period lapses. Um,
Hmm.
It's triggered if the land use is converted to a non-chapter use, but that's conversion while you're there. I think I think in this case it's probably is activated by the sale, and again the clear indication of intention by by requesting an A&R subdivision for residential purposes. But it's something you should talk to council about.
Thank you.
Yeah, at first I thought that my signal was degrading because I was doing a search in another app, but then I realized that the little pizza pie icon had completely disappeared, and so I was operating on one bar of cell phone service. So apologies.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Is there any other administrative matters that we should take up? Any mail that we need to address?
Tim, did you get any mail recently?
No, but I understand there's some there.
Hmm.
Oh,
I didn't.
I meant
have
to.
not-
Yeah, I meant to drop off the chopsticks for you.
Yeah, I was trying to get Eloise to take it down to the scanning department, have it scanned and emailed, but
But the scanning department has been defunded.
it's fun. Yeah.
We lost our federal grant for that.
We
Hmm.
did.
yeah.
All right, well, it's 7:45, so if we don't have any more penetrating insights or items that we need to address,
Checking here.
Would you like
We
me to
will-
promote Seth?
yes, please, we'll,
Katie from FEMA wanted a certified copy of our vote at town meeting,
Right.
which I sent her. Actually, James helped get that to me. Sent that today. Yeah, the rest is on the agenda. I think.
Good evening.
hi Seth, how are you?
Okay.
I'm doing well. Got a halo tonight. I apologize.
Good.
It's like an angel.
Well, let us take the matter up and then we'll decide.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Would you like me to introduce while I am here?
Yes, please.
Great. So I was before you, I believe in February this year for an A&R for Mr. Rhodes' property on Randall Road. This is right between what is now 180 Randall Road and 232 Randall Road. One of those lots was conveyed, and we are back before you with an A&R plan to reconfigure Lot 2A, which the board approved at that time. That's a reduced frontage lot, and we are only taking a small portion off the back. We're not messing with the frontage on it. The resulting area of the lot will grossly exceed the minimum required, which is 200,000 square feet of area, will be over 252,000 square feet of area. I can pop up a share of the screen if that helps the discussion.
Yes, please.
All right, so hopefully what's before you is a blow up. I'll pan out first. So this is the exact plan that was submitted to the board. Lot 2B is what we are reconfiguring. We're showing the former lot line in a dash back here, taking a very small portion out of it. The resulting lot 2B, its area and frontage indicating it exceeds what's required by the zoning bylaw. Everything else is very similar to what the board saw before. So if there's any particular questions on it, I'd be happy to dive into those.
Can you tell me again the address? Like what
This is-
it's between?
This is a new house, 180. So that lot was conveyed. That's what the board approved before. And down here at the corner is 232, which existed prior to us coming before you. It's an older house. So between 180 and 232.
Oh, 232. So this is a different lot than I thought it was. Excellent. Well, that makes life easier.
Good.
Yes.
So this is pretty automatic, looks like. If we can just pull over to the corner there so I can see what's on the other side. So I move that we approve a plan dated May 21st, prepared by Dillison Roy for Black Pearl Development Group, showing a modification to lot, what, 2B, is that what we said?
Was 2A, it's going to become 2B.
Yeah, lot 2A to 2B. The book and page is somewhere on the other side, probably, huh? Sixteen 173, page 96. Is that the best one?
I would go with the newer one. I'm going to double check that for you though, Tim. I don't want to jump.
Approval under the subdivision control law not required.
Were you making a motion there, Tim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can we just add to that as presented to the board at this meeting?
Sure.
And it is the newer number, which is the book 70333, page 26.
Okay, good. Thanks, Seth.
Do I have a second?
I can,
Second.
Okay, thank you. So we have a proposal and a second to accept this change as a A&R under our subdivision control law. As Tim had referenced, is there any further discussion? Anybody? Questions, comments, concerns?
Not
Okay,
on this
seeing-
one.
Seeing no one jumping out of their skin, I will ask you to vote. Carolyn McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Thomas Andrew,
aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
and Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. So the applicant owes you a fee. I'll have that. Where should he bring that to the town clerk?
Yeah, sure, that would work.
Okay, and I
And
mess
you
up the fee. Do you know what it is?
Just one lot, right? 150?
What's that?
Just one lot, 150?
It's one, yeah, one lot.
Yeah, it's 150 for the first lot.
And the purpose of this plan is for upcoming conveyance. Would there be any idea when the Mylar would be available?
When we need to pass it around and sign it. Where's the who has the Mylar now?
I believe Mr. Rhodes dropped it off at town hall,
Okay,
so I can give him another copy if that's gone missing. But I'll have him coordinate directly with you.
It's probably there.
yeah, it might be there.
I think that's what D implied, was that there was some mail that had come in this week, so.
Yeah, three of us have to go to the town meeting. Sign it if we can find the right pen.
Okay, I'll start including one in my deliveries too.
Not a bad
You know,
idea.
Clyde Wheeler, whenever he came to have us sign a plan, brought a pen and left it with us.
So I used to keep one above your door frame.
Well,
many
we
years
used to
ago.
keep one above the map there
Yeah.
of, but, yeah.
So I won't keep you long tonight, but I will hide one in town hall.
There you go.
And when the need arises, I will let you know where it is.
Right.
All right?
That's good.
And I'm, I'm around end of this week and over the weekend. If it's located, people drop me a line, I can drop by somewhere and sign it.
So
Well, it's
I'll have
really
it.
easiest for you, Thomas, me, and Tim to sign it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so just
We're gonna do that tomorrow.
drop me an email. Let me know how you want to do that. Okay.
You can go down anytime because it's already down there.
But you need
You-
to bring the right pen.
Yeah, I
Oh,
have
you
the
just
right
throw it
pin.
open, then you're okay.
All right, well, I will leave you be tonight. Appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you in the future soon.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
All
when
right.
it's all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
sir.
guys. Bye.
Thanks.
Good night.
Mr. Chairman, we've made a serious omission.
Uh-oh,
What about the minutes for the last meeting?
no. Because the minutes weren't written up. Well, they were written up, but they weren't. There was a gap in them because I had technical difficulties on my side where my stupid router decided to not cooperate.
We didn't do anything while you were gone.
We just sat and waited in silence.
Thank you.
Politely.
There were some hot topics while I was gone, no?
It was what?
There's some hot topics when I was gone?
Oh, yeah.
Not that I remember. You could always watch the meeting, Tom.
That's
what
true, I
I've done.
could.
The problem
Yeah.
is, if we don't put something on the website, then it's gonna pester me all the time for.
It's
Well,
gonna
I
show up
can-
in red,
Could do,
missing.
a,
I can scan these and
Scroll
send
down.
them to you.
you could stroll down memory lane, right? You could write some in your notebook and scan them and I'll post them.
I can scan it.
Hey, send it over, or what, yeah, scan it, send it to me, I'll put it up.
All right,
We'll put the title on it and stuff for you if you want.
I'll do it tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow afternoon. I got a busy morning.
Just before the next meeting, we'll vote on it the next meeting.
Okay.
Do we meet again in June?
We need what?
Do
Do
we
we meet
meet?
again in June? I
We
forget whether
do.
it's June. We do. So it's July and August. We only meet once, right?
We meet on the
Correct.
24th.
Okay,
Correct.
cool.
I will not be there. I have a prior commitment,
Okay.
so.
Wait a
someone
minute.
will have to usurp my power and become king for a day.
Okay.
So June 24th, we do meet, and that's the one you're gonna be gone.
Correct.
And then July, we meet only on the 8th. August, we meet
Correct.
only on the 12th.
Correct.
And
Mhm,
then September, we're back to 2.
Yes.
mhm.
All right.
If we have a gap, I noticed that Lynn Ryan is in the audience. I wondered if we could confirm that she got my note on the Jerry Byrne. I had sent it to the ZBA email.
That's fine by me. Lynn is willing to raise her hand.
Oh, there she is. Hey, Lynn. Oh, you have to unmute. There
Hi
you go.
there. I'm afraid I disagree with you, Tom.
Which Tom? Thomas or Tom?
Tommy Andrew.
Yeah. What you
Um,
just did I
in-
sent it or that you disagreed
that-
with what we said?
That too, but in the past, I have sought town council's guidance in a couple of circumstances. And we've also had a couple of blunders, and let me just explain to you without discussing too much about any individual instance that's going to be before us. we have to adhere pretty strictly to the rules and regulations that you have in the bylaw for special permits. And council will say that is because they are an exception to zoning. You know, I don't know to what extent that goes, but as far as I'm concerned, particularly if a person has some remedy, they need to comply with what's in the bylaw.
Yeah,
And this would not.
and on what point?
On the size of the lot and what the vehicles they want and the employees they want.
And so that you're suggesting that we couldn't include the contiguous.
Yeah, absolutely you could. If you combine the two lots, or if you carve out extra, if you add to that lot from the other lot. We've run into instances, I'll just cite one, and I'm sure you must be aware of it. The gas station down by me.
Yeah.
When the young man came in and did his business up at the old Taylor house,
Mm-hmm.
they sold him what was their green area.
Mm-hmm.
And that was mainly because it is not part of the lot, and therefore there was no restriction on it. When you file and you only include
Mm,
one building lot, we have to make our decision based upon the size of that one building lot.
Hmm.
Okay.
And I have, as far as, I'm not sure the vehicles aren't going to be an issue too, but I haven't gotten into it. We did go to the current town council. I think her name is White.
Heather
Yeah,
White,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Heather, that's right. And I specifically asked, this is when we were working up at Coburn Road, better known as the porta potties. They had all kinds of trucks. And we said, no, you have to conform to the table that's in the bylaw. And I actually went and wrote her, and I have actually an email back from her saying, you know, that's right, because that's a variance and you can only give dimensional variances. She said you'd have to go along, basically she said you'd have to go a long way to consider the size of the truck a dimensional variance. So I'd appreciate, you know, I believe you met with these folks, and we're meeting with them tomorrow night.
Yes, I noticed that.
And I have some concerns.
And
Because
so your suggestion is that they would need to include some of that contiguous property, which they obviously own as well, in this lot in order to support the understanding that planning board had, and I was just indicating what, we had discussed at the meeting. Is that
See,
what you're suggesting?
well, I'm suggesting that they have a remedy, okay, to get what they want, unless the size of the trucks is beyond what's in the bylaw, okay?
No, no.
But they have a remedy. I even suggested, you know, maybe you have two vehicles that are farm vehicles, but they're incidental to the landscaping, which was not picked up on at all.
So, and that's where Lynn and I talked about this, and so the presentation at the ZBA meeting and the presentation at the planning board meeting were different in that we came away with the feeling that the labor and the vehicles were divided in such a fashion that if the lot were, in our mind, because we said, well, you've got a substantially greater amount of land that's contiguous, we'll assume that you've got the bigger parcel. And that would mean that you could have that larger number of vehicles and labor, but only because it was shared. But in your meeting, the indication wasn't as much that the vehicles or the labor was shared to the degree it was when we met.
Well, even if it's shared, okay, according to the table that we have, I'm just rounding things off. I'm saying an acre is what, 40,000 square feet? And if you're up to 160, you get one registered vehicle. And the bylaw also says that any truck that bears your name on the side of it, look back in the thing here, but it says, when it talks about vehicles, it does not count your private vehicle, but it does count any vehicle that has a business name on the side of it. So, I mean, you can look through yourself. I mean, I don't want to bore you with that kind of stuff. I just want to tell you that this is an issue, and it will be an issue tomorrow night, and there is a resolution, okay? And it would be cheaper if they just want to combine the two lots, the acreage in back, the 61A, or if they want to carve out, and they don't need much of it, but they would have to carve it out. As
Yep.
right now, the site plan that we have does not include that lot.
Gotcha.
And we need a way to have it recorded so that we don't run into the type of situation that we ran into down at the gas station where they could sell off their green area because it wasn't registered. This way it would be registered in the registry of deeds.
Yeah, no, good point taken. I think we were looking at the fact that they, they own the contiguous parcel, and the vehicles were being used, I think, as it was indicated to us, with one possible exception, as farm vehicles as well. But I think your point is well taken, and
Right.
they do have, and particularly that last thing you said, Lynn, that in the event that there was a separate conveyance of the restricted land, they have a remedy,
would-
which is to at least carve off sufficient land area in that contiguous parcel to account for that. So I get what you're saying.
One other thing that I'd just like us to be on the same page. I'm not trying to be a pain in the neck, but if
No,
you
you're not. No.
if you
It's
disagree
perfectly
with
valid.
if you disagree with what I'm saying, I'll go to council, okay? But I'll tell you, I know what the answer is going to be.
No,
Okay.
what you're saying makes good sense to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, the other thing I would like to mention to you is we are also going to have Shiro coming in, I believe. Although this has been over the last 18 months or whatever. And there's going to be some issues there, one of which is parking in front of the building. We don't allow it. This is something for you to consider while you're looking at the bylaw and to change it. I don't see anything that requires handicap spots. And I mentioned to you, Tim, in case you're interested, it's 825 paving. It has to be hot topped. They can't have crushed stone or anything. Because it says, except in the case of parking spaces provided for dwellings, off-street parking and loading areas shall be paved to specifications prepared by the selectmen with the advice of the planning board. So they're going to be coming to you. I'm sure, I don't know that the selectmen would want to make the decision as to what your paving specifications are. Now, maybe you can get around it and say your paving specifications aren't hot top. I'm just saying it's in the bylaw, okay?
Mhm.
Uh,
Right.
we would have to have as part of our decision, if there is to be a decision. We would have to have it shown as being hot topped. But there's also the issue of parking in front of the building. I'm just looking for the section here. Location on the lot. Where a building lot contains 5 or more parking spaces, no portion of any parking area on that lot shall be located closer to the street than the front line of any building on the lot, except that required handicap, it does mention handicap. Except required handicap parking spaces may be located in front of the building line if necessary to provide handicapped access. So we did, I remember down when they did pure hockey, we had them come in on either side, and they do park in the front of the building, okay? Technically, that's a no-no. So I just wanted to bring up those points. We are going to be, dealing with it. If you have any thoughts.
And so you have a pre-existing.
We
They,
have no pre-existing, okay?
The-
If it's not used for 2 years.
right, where we have a pre-existing non-conforming use that's discontinued.
Right,
So the parking that was utilized in front of
any
the
site
building.
plan or anything is gone.
Yep.
Now it has to meet the requirements of the bylaw.
The majority of the parking is on the side of the building though, isn't it?
And it's in front of it.
Where's the front?
Have they said to
The
you?
the
that they-
front is on Gates Pond Road
Yeah.
and the
Right,
parking is on the side of the building between the house and
but there
Central
is,
Street.
there is parking in front.
So did they indicate to you, Lynn, that they could build more parking on the side toward Old Central? Is that what they said?
We have not met with them.
Okay.
I thought there was a circular driveway in the front. Is there really parking there?
I know, that's what I thought too. Unless they've taken that out.
Changed it, yeah.
And I believe, if I remember the plan correctly that we looked at, isn't the well and the septic on the other side?
Toward Old Central?
Central
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
So,
Well, again, it's just something when you're going through and updating the bylaw. When we have these exceptions. It would be helpful. And whatever you do, please do not put as a solution or as designated by the Board of Appeals.
That's the perfect solution.
I don't think there's parking in front. I'm looking at the satellite picture. I know that's not the point, but
there certainly could be parking in the line of the front, like if you drew a line across the whole front in that
yeah.
front
Zones.
corner, there could be some, but most of the parking is on the side of the building. So you could they could either put their handicap spots there or not have that be part of the parking. I don't know what that does to the amount of parking that they have, but
So what you're saying, Carolyn, is that if you drew a line across the front facade, there are some parking places along 62 that would be therefore in front of?
yes.
Hmm.
So,
That,
But it's only
Yeah.
1, 2 at most.
that seems to me to be a little draconian, but
So see my little drawing? There's
yeah,
62. There's
Yeah.
Gates Pond Road, there's the house. Most of the parking is along here. But if
Mhm.
they drew this line, there might be some parking spaces here.
yeah. I guess I don't see that as in front of the building because it's not in front of the building structure, but
But as Lynn just read, there is an exception for handicap spots in front of the building, so they could
Right.
put their handicap spots there.
absolutely.
One, two, three, four. Yeah, they should be able to find a way to comply. It looks like they're gonna lose four or so parking spots.
Out of a total of,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It seems like they'd still retain a dozen, and then, like you said, they'd throw the handicap on that corner. I can't remember how they showed, I mean, they,
Well, I think they also want to keep parking for the residents
oh,
separate.
okay, yeah. Anyway, it seems like they ought to be able to figure out a way around that one.
Why did that requirement end up in our bylaw?
It just
To whom are
became,
you asking the question?
Whoever was around at the time.
In front?
Same
Is that
with-
what you're asking, Jay?
there was a period of time where the notion of trying to keep streetscapes parking lot free was in favor, and so we added that to our bylaw quite a ways back.
I see.
But as we look at the rewrite of the zoning bylaw, we can address all that sort of stuff, you know?
Yep.
Right. That'll be good. But again, just don't say, or as designated by. We run into a problem when people come in like Coben Road and say, you did this for this one, you did that for this one, you did this for this one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, not only that, I don't want to be in court.
Yep.
And at some point, it could come to that.
Yep.
So I think we'll work around it, but I just wanted to bring this to your attention because it's going to be an issue.
I
This-
don't know, I think it's great that the ZBA has a lot of power, you know? so.
What kind
Right.
of power do we have? We have no power. We follow the bylaw. Set down by the leaders of the community.
Yeah, right. All right, it's, third time's up, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for your time.
All right. Oh,
If
thank
you
you.
have an
Thank you. I'm glad
opportunity-
I'm glad we got you in here. That the Jerry Burns stuff was. Thank you.
Helpful, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, all of the parking for the Indulge Pet Resort, which is relatively new, is in front. Same with Mo's.
well,
Right. When it was Wilson's, it
Wilson's
was,
was a pre-existing non-conforming use, you know, so.
Technically, now, I was in a butter, I couldn't be in on that one, okay?
Mhm.
So technically, I would say that those folks lost that right. Because that building went unused. For some time. Now, was it 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember.
but then that renders that building with no parking. Cause the lot, the building, the back of the building is pretty much against the back of the lot.
Right.
Right.
So
I
there's no
know-
other-
I know there's someone that wants to build up and back there and they want to put a side road in, okay?
Indeed, they do.
You should go and stand down there and listen to the dogs bark. There's 1 to 2 dozen dogs in that white fenced in area every day. if you're gonna put $1 million houses, I think you're gonna have a little bit of difficulty selling them if they come on a weekday. Just a thought.
We should be aware it's Peg, I think, was supposed to be on at 8,
Yep.
Yep.
like clerkly duty.
Thanks, guys. I'll leave you alone.
Thanks,
Please,
Lynn.
please talk
Okay.
to Mr. Byrne, will you?
Yeah, I can give him a call.
Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty. So our next one is discussion of drive-through at 8 o'clock. We're about 18 minutes late, so who's,
Okay.
Ms. Stone.
okay,
I'm trying to think, is it Jeff Beck who did the song Dogs Begin to Bark All Over My Neighborhood that
good evening, how are you?
Very well, how are you?
Good, thank you.
So thank you for the spot. I wanted to talk to you guys. I plan for the
Can you turn up
November.
your mic a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
All right, I'll move a little closer.
How many times has anyone ever said that to you, Peg?
Carolyn, I can't even respond with the way that I want to because this meeting is recorded. So there you go. All right, is that better, Tom?
A little bit, thank you.
All right. So what I was saying is that we will be having a special town meeting, probably November timeframe. During that town meeting, I plan on providing a citizen's petition, or we'll see if people sign it, to remove the 2 bylaws that currently exist for banning fast food restaurants. Those are 444.3 and 454.2. One is the highway shopping center and the other one is a mixed use village. So basically the point of my request to talk to you tonight is that if that passes, what does planning board, what is your involvement, if anything, of items that would need to change? I mean, or do we work together to change the language? Because obviously I don't plan on wanting to drop one in the center of town and get rid of the general store, nor drop one on South Commons, but obviously your malls, especially South Solomon Pond, you have a huge untapped potential of over 80,000 cars that drive up 290 every day. You have the rink that is there, so I'm looking to try and drive traffic into and out of town as quickly as possible.
So we had an article a while back that was going to allow drive-throughs at Solomon Pond, River Bridge, and Highland Commons, and of course, it didn't pass. We've been talking amongst ourselves about the notion of allowing drive-throughs at Highland Commons and Solomon Pond and leaving Riverbridge out. And so you'd structure the language of the modification to the zoning to allow it in those overlays. We've got the EEA grant, and Jane from CMRPC is going to be working with us on the rewrite of the zoning bylaw. And you know, in our conversation, Thomas and I spoke with Meredith from Marlborough, the Economic Development Director, about Solomon Pond Mall and the modifications that we would need to make for that site, potentially at a special town meeting, even before you know, if the town meeting for the town wasn't going to be until December or something like that, we might very well ask that there be an additional town meeting, a special town meeting in October or something. And one of the things that could be included in that would be this notion of allowing drive-throughs at Solomon Pond, and we could throw the language in that would allow it at Riverbridge at the same time. So you wouldn't have to do a citizen's petition and go that route. You know, we just, because I think we're on the same page.
Absolutely.
You had mentioned Riverbridge. Did you mean Highland Commons?
Highland
Yeah.
Commons, yeah. I
Okay.
don't mean Riverbridge.
Because I know
Yeah.
in the past, some of the arguments to stop the drive-throughs are a little outdated. Studies show that you spend probably on average 3.5 minutes in a takeout line. You know, so people are going to cry air pollution. Well, I want to challenge them and ask if anyone's been stuck on Pleasant Street at 5 o'clock trying to turn into town, or if anyone hangs out down at the transfer station on a Saturday and watches the amount of cars that continue to run as they go from cardboard to trash to glass to paper to metal. Oh, by the way, I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been? So that doesn't hold
Yeah.
an argument.
Well, there's
when-
already a law for that, about 5 minutes of, but
Right.
yeah. No, I'm with you. I've always thought that in particularly the two areas that we're talking about, it is a significant impact to the developmental and therefore tax value to the town, and doesn't make any damn difference if you ask me. I've often said you've already said is they've taken the king's shilling and done this as an intense commercial property, and it just doesn't seem to make sense to have that limitation. So I'm with you on that, Peg.
Yeah,
All
I mean,
right,
this
so
is-
I'm gonna be the raccoon in the woodpile because I'm against it 100%. And because it generates a tremendous amount of trash. And the
Thank you,
trash is gonna
Tom.
be along the byways. And so, no. So
Okay.
if we're gonna do something like that, we gotta make a provision that the proponents are going to participate in the collection of trash, especially along Gates Pond, which is a cut-through road. And yes, we've taken the king's coin, but we sacrificed the neighborhood to do that. And now to throw this on them is not fair.
And I understand your, go ahead, Carolyn.
So when Highland Commons went in, there is already a provision that they are supposed to, once a week, when there is no snow on the ground, come on foot down Gates Pond Road, down Fosgate, down Marlboro, and pick up roadside trash. I have seen them do it exactly once this year. Doesn't mean they haven't done it, but I've seen them do it exactly once. In past years, we have had to call them to remind them, oh, we have a new contractor, we'll let them know. They had set up a hotline, they had set up an email address, both of which are no longer functioning. So we kind of get what we get now as far as trash pickup. So I would rather see money towards the town and the town hires someone instead of relying on them to do it,
Yeah.
to do the trash pickup.
I think we have a similar provision with respect to the overlay at Solomon Pond, but I could be mistaken. It's been 30 years, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it was trash. I know that there was supposed to be, you know, the street sweeping or whatever on a regular
Yeah,
basis.
I have to look at that, but
And
yeah.
the forest management plan was supposed to be updated that dealt with the screen, and they were supposed to file with the Conservation Commission on an annual basis, I think, inspections of the detention and retention basins, so.
Yeah, and I have been on the commission for almost 10 years and have never seen one of those documents.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So where's the
Um,
data
That because if you
showing
look,
that
go ahead.
drive-through windows produce, you know, some amount of trash?
Trash?
Yeah.
Well, the trash, I can tell you that when McDonald's was in Hudson Center, my front yard is about how long it took to go from there to and eat your food.
Yeah.
So, you know, data, I'm not sure that it's exactly a scientific
You were getting a lot of.
collection of data.
You were getting a lot of McDonald's trash on your property?
I was, and now that they've moved it, I don't.
Interesting.
Seeing the,
Um,
the thing
I
is
have to
too-
say, living on Pleasant Street, I get, I would say, at least a peach basket full of nips in my front yard.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nips
Well,
is
we're
like
not
the big
talking
thing.
about a drive-through liquor store. It's more of convenience
No, no,
for.
no. They have those in
So,
the Carolinas, but not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, I want to keep the conversation germane.
Yeah.
And to that point, I mean, we're a cut-through road where I live, and so we have trash along the sides of our road too.
Mhm.
Now, is it fast food? Probably not, because I don't know if there's any fast food in Bolton, and there's certainly nothing, south of where Tim is. So, you're gonna get a certain amount of trash no matter what. I agree with that. I just don't want to exacerbate the problem.
Mhm.
understandable, but if you also have to look at industries like Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's that are implementing cardboard that is disposable and recyclable, that their plastics that they're using are recyclable, that the paper that they're using is recyclable. So it gives options to
Sure,
people
okay.
to buy
And
those
so how long
products.
does it take to break down?
No, I
A year
understand.
and a half, 2 years? I have to look at it in my lawn for a year and a half before it breaks down because
I
I'm too
understand
lazy to
that.
go out and pick it up?
But Tom, you know
Yeah.
what? You can put all the recyclable items that you want in the world, and let's face it, people are slobs. They're not
Yes.
going to keep it in their car. They're just going to whiz it out their window. So
Agreed. So my point is why am I giving them an opportunity to do it even more? I'm not saying that I'm 100% against it. I just want to make sure that there's some really tall guide rails on this before we open up the gates.
understand, but how are you going to force a company to do that? I mean, obviously, from what Tim and Carolyn are talking about, it's up at Highland Commons, but it's not done. So how are you going to expect somebody like a McDonald's to come in and enforce it when you can't get a giant mall to enforce it?
Well, I think we
You're
could,
talking out of both sides here.
no,
Yep.
the enforcement is written into the bylaw and
Right.
then the
We just need
fees
to
and
enforce the
fines,
bylaw.
and we should be sending
Yeah.
them the letter saying, prove to us that you haven't done this. And you've got X number of days, and if we don't get it, then we start the clock on the fees.
Yeah. No, I mean, I
Right.
think we know that with respect to Highland Commons, we have that, and I think we probably have that, but we'll review it for Solomon Pond Mall, and then it's a matter of enforcement.
are there fines associated already written in?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a schedule of
And
fees,
Highland there is.
and
not
there is the
just-
Solomon Pond too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll look at Solomon Pond because as I say, that's been a long time, so. But I think we dealt with that. And I mean, we should look at those provisions because if we've got this thing on the town meeting floor, we could, we could probably modify that a little bit to say they have to do it, and if they don't do it, we can give them notice and that they will compensate the town for doing that at X amount. I mean, so I think we can address that as a separate issue.
Right.
I mean,
Anyway,
you can't penalize a fast food company who may want to come into town and have them uphold them to you have to go around and pick up trash when you can't enforce other malls to do it. So it's either
No,
you're
no,
doing
no,
it
no.
for all or you're doing it for none.
Yeah, no, I think what we're saying is that the development has that responsibility at Highland Commons, and they're responsible for their tenants, so that we look to the developer owner slash of the mall for that, and we can look at those provisions, and as I say, maybe tune them up a little bit to say you do this or the town does it and we charge you a pretty hefty fee for that.
Well, and you also have to look at the lost revenue
Yeah,
of
no, I agree.
of Panera and Starbucks and Chick-fil-A, Filet that are coming into town. I mean, granted, they won't release their meal tax numbers to me, but what I've done is very conservative numbers of Starbucks sells 500 drinks a day at all of their locations. So even if you do very simple math of 500 times $10, because that's usually a drink, multiply that times the 6.25% meals tax, multiply that by 360 days, figuring they take a few off for the holidays, you're looking at about $120,000 of meal tax that we're not getting. Do the same for Panera, maybe decrease it a little bit to $250 going through, up it a little bit. You can easily spend $25 going in for 2 sandwiches and a drink. There's another 130,000. So you are leaving $250,000 on the table because of these 2 bylaws that when these places came to Berlin, we said, I'm sorry, we can't, you have to go to Hudson. They walked 5 feet over the line. And
Mhm.
people are constantly complaining about their taxes. Here is an opportunity to put money back into the town. If the people vote it down, they vote it down, then you know what? Never complain to me again about your taxes because you had an opportunity to do something. People in the town complain that Berlin is so against business. Here's an opportunity to do something. Again, you vote it down, you don't show up, it doesn't pass. Never complain to me again. I'm not saying that there are thousands of vendors, at the Berlin line waiting to come on in, but by releasing this bylaw, you're giving them the opportunity to knock on the door because right now they just go right by us. So
No,
here's an
I totally agree.
opportunity.
That's what I meant by, we've taken the king's shilling by, authorizing an intense commercial use. We ought to get a few shillings back.
Right.
And that's my feeling. And we've seen this at Highland Commons that uses that might have chosen a site in Berlin don't choose a site in Berlin. And I don't see that, as you just indicated, a few steps over the Hudson line has any impact on the trash issues that we've been talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, but this is what I plan on presenting. So, I mean, I'm happy to work with you guys or keep me posted as to what you're going to do with Marlboro to change the bylaws. But if that isn't going to, or the overlay district, if that isn't going to happen quick enough, then I plan on trying to push this forward as a citizen's petition. And again, people can say yes, people can say no. It's truly up to them. But you know what? Stop the nonsense and stop the idiotic. People are going to get fat, by going to these fast food places. You know what? If I want a greasy McNugget something, I'm going to go buy it. Don't you want the money coming into town rather than going out the door? I mean, come on, people.
No, I'm totally with you. I will say I have never myself, when I was the driver, sat in a takeout window line. And when we're traveling and Joni wants to stop and get something at Dunkin' Donuts, I'm so persnickety about it. I get out of the car and wait while she's doing it because I don't like the idea of sitting there while burning dinosaurs, pooed out the.
Mhm.
But I totally am with you on the issue of the fact that this is an evolution of the food industry, and we are suffering economic uh, harm
Yep.
because of that without I think any offsetting benefit. But so that's just what one man's opinion. That
No, and I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you and to find out what you all are doing with Marlboro and Marlboro. So, I mean, I don't want to have 2 efforts that are going to have the same end result. But again, depending upon your timing, to me, it's whoever can get it over the finish line
yeah,
quicker needs to do it.
yeah, and no, and it's very timely because
Mhm.
we're going to have to definitely, no matter what happens at Solomon Pond Mall, we're going to either have to fiddle with the underlying zoning or the overlay zoning. So this is just like one more issue in the basket for that. So it's very timely to hear this.
Okay.
I have a question. I pick up a ton of trash. So I'm very sensitive to that too. Not a ton, but a fair amount. And because it was mostly because of the high school kids watching the sunset. But do we have, has anyone done a search for real data about the difference in trash getting tossed on the road by drive-through windows and conventional retail? Because
I've looked.
I don't know, I'm not sure I have an opinion. I don't like paying any more tax than we need. I think we kind of have a hard time funding
Mhm.
all the, people resources that we need to run the town. We keep cutting back hours and
Mhm.
things, right? And our software's out of date and all sorts of things. There's some nice investments we could be making in the town if we had more money.
Mhm.
But on the other hand, I don't want to be picking up any more trash. But I really don't have an opinion on which way to go on this one because
Yeah.
I mean, Jay, I
you
can
know, I
tell you that
see
I've
it's
looked
mostly
and I've also
pit bottles.
have enlisted the help of a couple of the librarians who are also looking for research for me. So it's just not going to be a random Google search into GPT chat on this. It's going to be like true data to see what we can find or can't find.
Yeah. But I would say, to me, that issue is not really relevant because to me, it runs to the fact that if you move 20 feet over, you've got the same use, both, because we're talking about Solomon Pond Mall and Highland Commons. And I just don't see that moving something into Berlin as opposed to letting those uses happen 2,500 feet away, whatever. The entrances and the exits to both of those are the same. So I really don't see, I don't see that's even a relevant issue. It's these things are going to happen. They'll either happen just over the border or allow people to say, I like this location better. It's in Berlin. That, again, one man's opinion, but that's the way I feel about that issue.
Well, if we allowed it at Riverbridge, it would be more than one.
No, but that's why I said we're talking right now,
Mhm.
I think about, and Peg, correct me, I mean, we're talking about Solomon Pond Mall and Highland Commons, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to come in any farther into town possible, and I want to stay as far away as the Dunkins on River Bridge is absolutely possible. Nope, nope, nope. Easy
Okay.
access on
So
one way, easy
I would
access on the other way.
I would have a different opinion because one of my pet peeves is that when you drive into town, you see a 1950s package store sitting there abandoned and it looks terrible. And we've been waiting for what, 10 years? No, we waited at least 10 years, I think, to find a restaurant that wants to move in there and can't find one. So
Yeah. But I
another
would
10
say
years,
that
we'll probably still have the package store there.
I don't know. I mean,
Those
that
would fall down.
they've come before us with some alternate uses that would get rid of that, but other than registering it as a National Historic Structure of 60s futurist architecture, I'd love to see it go. Yeah.
Okay. So Tim, do you have any idea of timeframes that you're going to be working with Marlboro on this? I mean, I don't have a definite date for the special town meeting. I'm guessing November. It could be October. I don't know. We haven't set that yet, but
In our discussions last week with Marlboro and the proponent of a project, a rehab of the mall, we suggested that we could do something in late September, early October. Um,
okay.
I think that sits well with their time frame. We want to talk about that a little bit later on in our meeting here, but because we've got Jane now waiting in the wings.
Okay. All right.
Ask one last question, Peg. Do
Of
we get
course.
6.5% of the sales of one of these restaurants?
6.25% is your meals tax. So why wouldn't the town get it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because a typical
Yeah.
standalone Chick-fil-A restaurant generates 9.3 million in sales. What's 6% of that? Let's see.
I'm gonna send all of you pictures of the trash from Chick-fil-A once in my yard, once it opens.
That's
Daily.
$560,000.
Daily.
Yeah,
Like
but the point is
$1,000 each
Chick-fil-A
for
is in
taxes.
Hudson.
Hudson, so we don't get that money.
How much, Jay?
It's $567,000 of revenue to the town.
That's a lot of chicken.
We have what, 500 residents, so that's $1,000 apiece.
500 residents? Where do you live?
He lives on a very special road.
Apparently.
You're allowed to exaggerate things now.
I mean, so that's
Um,
why, so that's why I'm just trying to, Kristen has gone to the town administrators and they, they won't fork it over, obviously for good reason. But I mean, you can extrapolate and do a very, very conservative estimate. And even if you said, here's another $250,000 and all we have to do is let you come in. Well, taxes aren't going to go down. They're going to continue to go up year over year over year, and people are going to continue to complain. Rightfully so. You've got to give them some alternatives, some help, and potentially a drive-through or drive-throughs may help. I don't know, but at least give the town the opportunity to do so.
Yep, within very restricted areas. And again, where the same use could occur just over the border and have the same impacts. I'm with you.
Well, what I'll do, and again, I'll keep in touch with you guys, but if it looks like a citizen's petition needs to go that way, is that I will come back to you and I will ask for your help in drafting the wording so that the people on the floor don't get up and start screaming about keep Berlin when I'm asking just to do something on the outskirts of town and leave the middle of the town as is. So
Peg, I have a question for you. Do you think that no matter what we do, somebody isn't going to get up and say that?
Well, I don't know, Tom, maybe we
Yeah.
could put a bingo card together and see who does get up, but,
Yeah, right, exactly.
well,
All
that's
righty.
just it. But, I want to present facts to people. And you know what? And Jay, if I can find stuff that talks about, trash increases exponentially, per drive-through, then I'll present that. I'm not going to hide stuff and only present the findings that are going to make people vote for it. So.
No, but again, I think the thing that I would say is that really relevant? Because something 500 yards away, exiting the property at the same places are going to
Chuck it out
produce the
again.
same waste. So I would ask you to think about
Okay.
it before you go down that rabbit hole, that
do we know if Hudson has any provisions for the trash that Highland Ridge generates for the town of Hudson?
I can ask. I'll ask Kristen. to reach out
Because
to her
if they're
counterpart.
getting the money and the money for trash,
Okay.
I will say that Peg and I have talked about this several times. This is not news to her. I am not for this, but if there is something that we could do to try to mitigate the amount of trash that those of us who live in the outer reaches of the town, that would help. I would feel better about it. I still wouldn't feel great and I still might not vote for it, but
No, Carolyn, that's a fair question. So I will get Kristen on this to help and see what she can get from her counterpart across the border.
cool.
Cool. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you all.
Thank you. Have a good
be in
night.
touch.
Right
Okay.
now,
Good night.
can you promote Jane, please?
I can.
Thank you.
There she is. Oh,
I'm in,
it's gone.
where am I? I'm in the car.
Oh,
I'm
Well,
right
what
in
was-
front of it. Oh, maybe because it's dark in here?
it was interesting. The CMRPC logo is in the corner and you materialized for a moment and then you disappeared.
That's so weird. Yeah, I forgot when I offered to join you guys that my daughter was working late today and
There
I
you
had to
go.
pick her up at the train station. So I'm at the Grafton train station. She'll be here in a few minutes, so I apologize. Oh, there I am,
No,
somewhere there.
okay,
Yeah.
You're back.
there you go.
So yes, congratulations on getting the EEA funding. So we can move forward with the zoning update and the subdivision regulations update. Our time frame is going to be a little bit shorter, seeing they announced the awards so late, but I'm still confident we can get it all done. The one thing I wasn't sure of is if the community wanted, or if the planning board wanted the whole planning board involved, or to have representatives from different boards. I'm thinking Kristen may have had an idea about this sometime back, but that was so long ago that I don't remember exactly. But I thought that maybe you could just start thinking about what you want for the makeup of the committee for these updates. And I know, working with another town that did the subdivision regulations update at the same time, it was really instrumental for us to work with the fire chief and the highway department.
Mhm.
And even the director of the highway department is also the director of the water department. And the input that they were able to give us with changes to subdivision regs as far as roadway widths and utility connections and fire hydrants, cisterns if needed, was really invaluable. So
Mhm.
I think that we would be meeting with other people in the town as we work through those two updates.
I think that's important to consider.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I assume these meetings would take place during the day.
Not necessarily. A lot of them are usually at night if they're with board members. You know, we've had some communities that do just planning board. Some will have a representative from zoning, from planning, from economic development. If there's a town planner, the town planner would be involved. Maybe even Conservation Commission. Whatever makeup the town wants. One town, it wasn't like an officially appointed committee, so there was never an issue with quorum or having to post public hearing notices. There's another one where there was official appointments by the select board, and so they do have to have quorum and post their meeting agendas and all. So just no decisions need to be made tonight, but I just wanted to at least do a quick little kickoff and ask you to start thinking about those things.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your timeline?
I believe we have until June next year. I'd have to double check the award letter. Is it June or is it December? I'm gonna have to verify that and write back to you.
I mean, if we're June, we'd go to a Maytown meeting. Is that the idea?
I don't know if that is feasible.
Yeah, so
What we've done sometimes is we just, make sure we save enough time to come back and help you with public hearing and meetings, but at least get the document to a point where it's ready to go to public hearing and town meeting.
I mean, and then the other question is whether it would be wise to dedicate a town meeting, a special town meeting sometime like in the fall, September of 26, that just dedicated itself to these items.
Right. Several towns have, they really don't like bringing zoning to the annual town meeting because there's so many financial articles then that I think it might just be too overwhelming for the residents. in voting, and they may want to just, the other thing is, you might want to split up the different sections so that you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, which I would highly recommend it splitting them. Like, suppose the town decides they want to move all the definitions to one chapter. That might be one warrant article. Suppose you're bringing in a cottage community bylaw, that's a separate one. I've seen in one town where everything was lumped together except for their ADU bylaw, and because the residents had a problem with only one part of it, the whole thing failed.
Okay.
So, another thing you might,
That would never happen in Berlin.
another thing you might want to think about is, whether you want to bring a couple of minor changes in the spring and then break them up that way. You know, I don't have a problem with them all going in the fall, but I just don't, I'm trying to understand the psychology of the residents, and if they get overwhelmed with like, why are we changing everything?
So,
Or if they don't understand what the changes are.
yeah, so, I mean, one of the issues, and I think you were here for part of this conversation, you're gonna work, I guess it's you're gonna work with us on this mall issue.
Mhm.
Because we've got some DLTA money for you to assist us.
Carrie and I will, yes.
And Thomas and I met last week with a proponent from Cleveland. Say what? Oh, so a proponent from Cleveland, and their proposal would be to bring in sort of light manufacturing, take out the floor so there was clear span, 28 feet of height,
Mhm.
and open up the facility. But as we discussed, they began to say, well, Macy's may want to stay. Maybe we'd buy the Macy's facility and then take their footprint and reduce it by half, and then make it available to other retailers that wanted to stay in the facility but wouldn't be in the main concourses anymore. That retail would just move to some of Macy's space. And so they were quite open about a lot of options. And then we got a note today, which I sent to Thomas, and I don't know if he's collected it yet, but Liz
No, I
Kelly,
haven't actually, but yeah.
Liz Kelly's got two other nibbles that they want us to, well, they want to see if we could talk to them later this week. So there's a lot of activity, and it would appear as though we'd be going to town meeting with some modifications to the bylaw, most of which would be specific to that overlay, but some might have repercussions to things like parking and, number of other items that are, this fast food restaurant issue. So you're right. I mean, we may want your guidance or participation anyway in some of the discussions that we have between now and the fall, when we make some changes to the zoning bylaw to accommodate some of this mall issue. And then you're right. I mean, go for another nibble in May with, maybe you do the ADU piece in May. And then, work on the rewrite of a lot of the structure that's really modifications to what's been on the books for a long time, in the fall of 26, something like that.
Yeah. I like the idea of staggering them.
Yeah, it seems like I've been thinking about that. It seems like a lot to ask people to do at one meeting,
Right.
especially an annual town meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and then the subdivision control law could be another bite of the apple at another time too. So, well, we don't have to get approval for subdivision control law. We do that ourselves.
Right.
I think
That's
you're right.
Yeah, no, we can, the planning board
do
just
it.
does that. So we don't need town meeting. Yep, okay, for that. Well, that's helpful.
So this
Yeah.
would be, this could be an opportunity to include new bylaws like a stormwater management bylaw.
Yes,
Okay.
you can put it on your lap. My daughter has joined us. Oh,
Hi.
congratulations, she's now a doctor, so
Ooh,
Really?
congratulations.
Congratulations.
optometrist now, so
Great.
sorry, I am very proud. I turned the lights off so I can drive home, but we can continue. Speaking of ADU bylaws, the state attorney general's office has finally gotten around to sending decision letters. I don't want to say it that way. They've been bombarded with ADU bylaws, so they've had a lot of them to review. And some of our communities are starting to get the response letters. And it seems like communities who did their ADU bylaw last fall and submitted, they passed at town meeting, they submitted to the state. From the time that the draft regulations were released from EOHLC for public hearing, and the final ones came out on February 2nd, I believe it was, there were a lot of changes, even some of the terminology. So you're
Mhm.
finding that, you know, people who passed bylaws that referred to allowing ADUs in districts that allow for single family dwellings, or just using the term single family dwelling, were shot down because it could be on a multifamily lot. Suppose there's a duplex there or a tenement house. So
Mm.
the preferred term now is principal dwelling. So, and you know, the parking requirement was one parking space for the ADU. And they're now saying, a lot of towns said at least one, and they're like, no, 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 you can't say at least one, it's only one. And you didn't bring up that if it's within a half mile of a transit station, they don't need any. And it's like they're looking at every little word of it.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah, we're gonna probably look at yours again
wow.
before it goes out. So,
Huh. Interesting.
but it seems like at least 3/4 of them are not being approved because of a lot of little particular things about the wording.
So in regard to this rewrite, what schedule are we talking about? When do we first engage on some of this, and how do you see us sort of biting this apart and working on it?
So I think the first step is the town needs to decide whether it's going to be planning board working on it or some other mix of representatives from the community. And then we can do like a more official kickoff once we know who the committee is that's going to be working on it. Some towns find that having the whole planning board work on it means like double meetings for the planning board, because we dive so deep into all of the language in the bylaws that, I mean, it's hard enough to get through the regular schedule sometimes, the regular agendas, that I don't think it would be realistic to think we'd get through all of those documents being updated during regular planning board meetings.
So in your towns that you've been working with, how often do you engage with these committees? Every other week, or does it start off
There's
vigorously and then taper off after a while, or what's?
I've seen one that was meeting once every month and we had to actually go every other week near the end to finish it up.
Mhm.
There's another one that's been going every other week and it's been moving pretty smoothly that way.
Mhm.
It depends on, you know, I'd have to work out the timeline in order to fit all of the desired changes in. Like I know, like you want to deal with Solomon Pond first, probably, based on the last discussion. So we'd probably hit that heavier. Other towns, they might look at updating their existing bylaws rather than drafting new ones, or some mix of that. And we try to like put things together like stormwater, LID, erosion control, those kind of things packaged together to work on at the same time, seeing they're related to each other.
Mhm. Yeah. The last time we did it, it was the whole planning board, but that was, 30 years ago. I don't know how people feel. They're silent.
I know.
Yeah.
They might be afraid of that time commitment.
Well, that's truly what it is for me.
Yeah, no, I think a working group that maybe even would allow for um us to have some planning board members address certain issues and others address others would probably be the
Mhm.
best approach. And I have to say, I'm going to have to drop off. I have to. We have our European attorneys in tomorrow morning, and I have to host a 7 o'clock breakfast in Boston tomorrow. So, but I will. I have to catch up with Tim on a number of things, and I will catch up with him on the rest of this.
All
Good.
right.
Yeah, I sent you that email, Tom, about
Yeah, I'll look at it once I get off the
Liz's
off the
question.
call.
Yeah, good. But your sense is that a committee as opposed to the board makes sense.
Yeah, it does to me. And again, we
think-
can, we could even, if we coordinate amongst ourselves, we can even cycle
Right.
various members of the planning board on different issues.
Yeah, and I think, because I think you're right. I mean, Lynn would probably say that someone from ZBA that could participate in the discussions would be helpful, and I think that that's probably true. Well, the Economic Development Committee might very well want someone to participate.
Do they even still meet?
Yeah, they do, I believe. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely, would like to wear both of my hats for certain parts of the bylaw rewrite, but I don't know that I would be able, I know that I couldn't commit to being
Hmm.
there for the whole thing.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but
but
So I think
certainly,
that the approach I suggested accommodates that.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd want to be there for low impact development and stormwater management and, those pieces that would be, new.
Yep.
Yep.
We're actually working with one town now in the western part of the region that just has 2 planning board members on the working group. And then like once a month, they report back to the planning board with an update of what's
Yeah.
going on.
I was,
Yeah.
And
I
that-
was wondering if something like that would be possible.
That we're doing that in Warren right now. And one of the board members is an architect, and there are some areas that he really wants to get involved in. So when he comes in for certain parts, one of the others will bow out so they don't have to worry about quorum issues.
Yeah,
Hmm.
good.
No, that's right. All right. Well, I'll catch up with Tim and bonsoir, everybody. Have a good evening.
All right,
Good
good
Hey,
night.
Tom.
Night.
Good.
Good. Tim, I don't know if any of you worked with Ron Barron when he worked here before.
Yeah, and he's back?
He starts back on Monday. Remotely for the first month. He's still in Washington, DC, but will be moving back here. And so I think I will have him helping with this project as well.
That's great. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I've heard wonderful, wonderful things about him.
Now in regard to the mall issues, I can send you, we've written a letter of understanding that sort of shares the common goals and objectives of Marlborough and Berlin, that the mall owners want to be able to share with any potential buyers.
Okay.
And the good news is that the people that are showing up with interest like the group that we met with the other day, they said that they like this site because for several reasons. And the one that surprised me the most was that they said rehabbing a facility, the one of the issues that's problematic for light manufacturing, which is their particular interest, is that there's not enough power on the site. And to try to get power takes years. I mean, everybody knows that if you deal with National Grid around here, but it's a year and a half or so before they'll help
Take your
you out.
call.
Right, exactly.
And they said this site at Solomon Pond has an abundant amount of power that's readily available for any of the uses that they potentially could move in there. And they'd be thinking about half a dozen or 7 tenants each, 30 to 70 or 80,000 square feet apiece. Like I said, rip out the first, the floor, so everything just opens up. They're speaking individually to Sears, Penny's, and Macy's. And as I said, Macy's, because of their interest in perhaps staying, they're sort of wondering about that possibility. We talked about hotel. We said that the notion of housing as a component was probably not of great interest to the people in town, and Marlboro seemed to echo the same thing.
I thought they had made a comment about not having enough infrastructure capacity for residential.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
that's what both towns have really tried to say, and I think the proponent heard that and doesn't necessarily use that as a component of their projects anyway. Now, there's 2 other groups that want to talk to us later this week, and I'm not sure what direction they're going to head in. So we'll find out if there's people with ideas that are substantially different than this one.
Wow, that's good. There's
Tim,
so
can
much-
can I just ask, when you say light industry, so is it like auto repair shop kind of thing?
So they gave examples. So for instance, in Cleveland, no, it was near Cleveland. There's an outfit that buys Mercedes and Ram and Ford vans and then modifies them for handicap access
Okay.
use. So that, ramps and elevators and hand controls and that sort of thing. And they use like 40,000 square feet in this one particular mall because they're working on a number of units, customizing them and then shipping them out all over the place. And then another use was just somebody that was making cabinetry for rehabbing kitchens, so it was doors essentially. That's all they were producing.
Right.
And then multimedia groups, photography, there's on and on and on, just a whole range of uses and clients that are, sort of the main list of uses that you'd normally see. We said warehousing was off the list as far as we were concerned. They said there'd be some distribution from these sites because they'd be producing product.
Sure.
But that when you really look at the scale that these operations are working under, when you compare it to the truck traffic that was delivering product to the mall when it was really fully functional, they said you're really not going to see an increase in truck traffic. They'd reduce the parking area. They'd modify it, green it up. There might be some areas that they'd want to develop that are now, only permissible parking. So they might want to add some satellite uses scattered around the place. So, it was interesting. I thought, and they'd flown in quite a crew. I think they brought in half a dozen people or so. And they were here for multiple days, taking a good hard look at the place. So it's a good sign. But I think having the commission, look over our shoulder as we evaluate some of these might be helpful.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
there's the DLTA money that got earmarked for Auburn and Berlin to help evaluate some of the opportunities for mall use. And I think there may be some technical questions where we say, well, can we believe that? Is there some way to verify that? And we can maybe throw that at Jane and the crew and say, can you find out if this is actually true? They're suggesting that we're going to get this kind of revenue from this, but is that accurate?
All right, well, that was kind of why I asked the question. I just am kind of picturing, so I don't know if you're familiar with, there's a building behind Kennedy's Restaurant in Marlboro that
Mhm.
has,
Yes.
there's like a transmission repair and those kind of smaller bays. And I'm just concerned about something like that with still trying to do like retail, like a Macy's, and how long Macy's would want to stay if
Yeah.
they're looking to maybe close stores anyway. Like, do they want to be in that situation, I guess is
Yeah,
um
this is, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 square feet. So it's not a transmission repair shop.
right.
It's somebody that's really engaged. And I'm trying to remember, we didn't get the presentation. I can ask Meredith if she got a copy of that, because it would be good for, we can share that with everybody and just say, here, this is what they presented to us. He gave us site after site where they'd taken malls or other types of structures, number of malls, I think there were half a dozen or so that they'd redone and moved in. And he tends the nice thing was that it was like dealing with Jed Hayes or Bill McCabe. I mean, we were talking to the owner. He was sitting in Marlboro in Meredith's office saying, tell me what would be acceptable. And I'll be here all through this process. I'm not handing this off to somebody else. I mean, it's clear he's small enough organization. He's got 100 employees or something like that work with him. But they're pretty serious about rehabbing, particularly malls. And the facades get upgraded. He said in one case, they had a Sears that was really dilapidated, and he spent quite a bit of money fixing it up even before he owned it, because he knew he was buying it, but he was embarrassed by the fact that it looked like hell. So we went in and cleaned the facade up and repainted everything. And I thought this is the type of thing we want to hear. So
Is he interested in an old package store?
yeah, you weren't here, Jay, for the presentation. That the guy that came in from Westboro with Senni's proposing the alternative to Riverbridge other than the hotel wants to put in multiple restaurant site.
Oh, really?
And it's based on what he's already done over in Westboro. So
Huh.
so there may be some. I mean, he really talked about more than, it wasn't like 2 or 3, it was like 4 or 5,
No.
right?
Wanted like six small restaurants, 15 tables each.
Yeah.
Right.
Really?
Which does make me a little concerned about Peg's drive-through, in excluding Riverbridge. From that, I think that's gonna be a sticky wicket.
Yeah, he didn't.
It's like at the Apex, across the street from the Apex. There's a strip mall with a string of restaurants, right?
Yep.
5 or 6, maybe even.
Yeah.
Seem to do
Yep.
okay. I don't think they're knocking it out of the park,
None are drive-throughs.
but that's a
Correct.
you know,
Well,
the
except for
roof-
McDonald's. Well, actually, there's a
Friendly
Cane's.
Friendly's has a drive-through.
Right,
Yeah.
and you're right though, Jane, Canes and,
McDonald's on the other side.
And Chick-fil-A.
right. Right,
Wendy's.
Chick-fil-A's across the street at Apex.
Yeah, Wendy's is at Apex, but that was pre-existing.
Yeah, that's a much more population dense area, right? With all those. Condo
Very
apartment
dense.
complexes.
Yep.
I mean, why did he?
It used to be a
why-
beautiful woodland.
Oh, was it?
Be Bryce's.
Oh, it was
Woods.
yeah, it was very nice.
Do you remember the New York New York bar or something that was down there? Out in the middle of the woods, there was this little tiny seedy bar and grill, and it was New York something off in the distance. It was almost like it was a sci-fi movie or whatever. Anyways, did he offer up his thoughts on why a bunch of small restaurants would be interested in that spot and successful where it's been so difficult to find a single restaurant for that?
No,
did-
other than he compared what he's done in Westboro. And he said it's got a similar draw.
Where is it in Westboro? On what road?
It's supposed to be on, I thought it was said Route 30, so towards the center.
It's near the sports, the athletic club.
Really?
Up, so there's that athletic club that's there off of Route 9, sort of whatever that lake is.
Chauncey Lake?
Yeah, that was my impression. It was over there near that athletic club.
Huh.
I'll ask Chris Senni.
Yeah, I didn't get it, that it was over that spot.
Oh, no, I think it's on the southwest cutoff.
That's Route 20.
Right, I thought that's, I could be making that up now that I'm saying that.
Westboro, that's not Westboro though.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
the
not
street from
Westboro. There was
Westboro-
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I thought he was more towards where the old, what was it, Green Meadow Golf Course was,
Oh, okay.
over in that section. But we should probably get clarification where it was, but bottom line is that he wants to duplicate that effort and he thinks he's got it. And then the anchor is gonna be a banquet facility.
Mm.
He wants to have like a 400-seat banquet facility.
Well, two separate ones with the total capacity of that.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
a 2-story one, 200 and 200 or 100 and 300, whatever his figure was.
Right.
That'll all fit on that lot 9.
He's doing renderings and stuff now.
Yeah.
so.
Two separate buildings.
Yeah, yeah. I think his challenge is gonna be parking.
Right,
I agree.
I agree. Because he maxed out the lot with parking, that's for sure.
Indeed,
And didn't have enough.
right.
Huh.
Um,
Maybe little restaurants with fewer tables do better in a less dense area.
yeah, he seemed to think that they would be doing a lot of pickup business, takeout.
Well, the surprise is, have you been down to I don't know what the Trainwreck restaurant is now called. What's it now called?
West Street Tavern.
Yeah, that place is doing incredibly well, it seems.
Yeah. Well, it's always been a great spot, especially for someone who knows how to run a restaurant.
Oh, is that right?
They're not open Mondays and Tuesdays.
Um,
Anyways,
I
What
know
else
Jane
can we
doesn't.
tell you, Jane?
What was that?
What else
I don't
can we tell you?
I moved the laptop when my daughter got in and I kind of lost my picture here.
Oh, we still have the blue background.
Yeah.
okay, so what's our next step for Jane?
We've got to decide who the committee is.
Okay,
So we can put on our thinking caps and decide that between now and the next time we meet, huh? Come with some ideas.
Does it pay any more than we get now?
Yeah,
Double.
double your salary. Okay,
Cool.
thank you, Jane.
Very welcome. For the technical difficulties here.
yep.
So
No
Anyway.
worries.
have a good night. Let me know, once you've made a decision, how you want to move forward with a committee or a working group, and Ron should be here the next time that we meet. So looking forward to it.
Great.
Excellent. Thank
Awesome.
you.
You're
Take care.
welcome. Have a good night.
Congratulations to your daughter.
Yes, she's an optometrist now. Mama couldn't be more proud.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Alrighty, good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
It's been an exciting night for someone. Oh, I got to turn my camera on.
I met with the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee and I let them know about the two subdivisions that we're looking at. And I asked if they had been approached yet, and neither had been approached. They have the plans, but they hadn't been approached by the proponents. We talked a little bit about Turner Road and the turnaround. And I think they have some ideas about how they'd like to see that constructed. Did we talk about it not potentially being paved?
Correct.
I think they felt that that would mean that they'd be in a predicament in terms of being up there repairing it on a regular basis in the wintertime or in the spring and fall when they were turning trucks around and trying to plow. They said Turner Road right now, of course, is only big enough for a plow. And that if they get up in there and didn't have a paved surface, it might be real difficult to accomplish what they wanted to in terms of getting out of there again. So that was one of the thoughts anyway. And then when we talked about the Central Street site, Eric said if there were a subdivision road in there that took you to the rail trail, it would allow emergency access at a midpoint between sort of Sawyer Hill Road and Old Central. So he said that if they were to move forward with this, one of the things to consider would be access, particularly if they don't get the right to build across the right of way. Although Eric said, you know, maybe they'd negotiate with the MBTA and say, we'll pay X amount to have this portion of the trail constructed in order to get the right of way across it. You know, he said maybe they'd make that pitch to the MBTA in order to buy their way into getting access. But so we have two subdivision proposals that are preliminary plans that have X number of days for us to act.
Mhm.
And I'm suspicious that we may have gone over. Did we get letters from anybody saying they'd extend we haven't met with
No.
the group from Central anyway.
No,
When we met with the group from Turner Road, we said, can we get an extension? And I thought they said yes.
They sent us a continuation request letter to you. It says
Oh,
here.
good. So that gives us flexibility with that one. The other one, by default, if we don't act, they get approval.
But they haven't actually filed anything.
Yeah,
True?
don't we have it?
Which one?
Central
Central Street? They paid. Cause I wasn't sure we'd gotten a check. And then I asked and James said that, well, isn't that the one, Jay, that you got and gave to June?
Is that the one? Yeah.
Have they sent digital filing as well?
Let's just check. Which meeting was that? That was 2 meetings
Couple-
ago?
Couple-
2 meetings ago.
I was
Yeah.
just on the Turner Road one. Was that last week?
Last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wasn't aware of that. I was kind of puzzled what this was about. So they request a continuance to the public hearing to June 24th.
Oh, the public hearing.
And further, as agreed in the opening meeting, this letter serves to extend the time for issuance of the decision to July 8th.
Yeah, that's not time enough. We can't post a hearing for the 26th,
24th.
24th. Um,
You
and
wanna
they
approve-
haven't gone to highway or fire or police like we requested that they do.
So, can't they come in and update us and then we can extend it yet again?
Yeah, but we have to decide if we're gonna hold a public hearing on
July.
July 8th or whatever.
Yeah, July 8th.
I guess the thing to do is to schedule a hearing for July 8th, and then we have X number of days to decide after the hearing. It's been so long since we've done a subdivision,
Yeah.
like. But, I guess that's what we need to do is post it for the 8th. Because we can't post it for the 26th, 24th, or whatever it is.
Yeah, post it for the 8th, and then we can always cancel it if they allow us to extend it.
Especially if they've not gone to
Any of these guys.
any of the other departments that we've asked them to.
Mhm.
Right.
I
So
mean,
do you
they haven't come and presented it to us, have they?
Turner?
No? Central Street.
No,
That's what
Central.
I'm saying.
But
They-
if they filed
Yeah,
and we don't act within a certain number of days,
it automatically gets approved.
right?
Yep.
And by act, what does that mean? If we don't have them come in, if they don't present, if we don't hold a hearing, like what constitutes acting?
If we don't vote on whether to approve it or not, the preliminary.
Okay, well, then I make a motion, we vote to not approve it. Because we don't have enough time to,
Nor do we have enough information to make a decision.
nor do we have enough information to make a decision.
I was hoping that Jay could give us some dates as to when it was,
I'm just looking through the meeting minutes to see. And the notes,
Yeah, I mean, if we're in danger of it
Central Street.
being approved by default,
Then
that's not cool.
That one. So we got the payment here.
What's that dated?
May 1st.
Ooh. And how long do we have?
I think we have 45 days.
Sounds right. So May 1st, so they
It
would
was
have
longer
come
than
in.
45 days. I thought we had like 60 days.
For the preliminary,
Yeah,
uh,
Well, if it's May 1st, then we have to act tonight.
I'm looking for when they came in to talk to us.
They haven't.
they haven't.
I've talked to them at conservation, but they haven't come to planning.
Oh, okay, that's why I can't find it. So we just we just got an application money from them.
Right.
But they didn't even
That stopped the
file,
clock.
Yeah.
the plans were filed and I gave copies of all the plans to the various groups that needed to get them.
like,
It all froze up.
Did we get
Any person submitting a preliminary plan shall give written notice to the town clerk by delivery of registered mail postage prepaid that he has submitted such a plan. If the notice is delivered to the town clerk shall, if requested, give a written receipt. The applicant shall file one Form B, a reproducible copy of the original drawings, and 5 prints with the planning board, 3 prints with the Board of Health. Both the Board of Health and the planning board shall comply with the requirements of section 81S. Preliminary plan shall be drawn to a scale. The planning board may invite the applicant to discuss proposed modifications. Notice of planning board action must be given to the applicant and the town clerk within 45 days of the date of submission. I'll second Carolyn's motion.
Okay. So we got a motion and a second to reject this. Any further discussion?
Do we need to, we're clear in our minutes as to the reason for our,
the reason for my motion is lack of information.
Right. The proponent hasn't probably informed the planning board. We cannot make a decision on the information that's been given to us.
so we can approve, disapprove, or approve with modifications within 45 days. In case of disapproval, the planning board shall advise the applicant of the specific reasons for which the plan is disapproved, thus enabling the applicant to resubmit the plan, provided the plan is corrected to comply with the requirements of the planning board and the zoning bylaws. So we're not convinced that the Board of Health, the Conservation Commission's issues have been satisfied in regard to the wetlands crossings. We're not aware of any arrangement with the MBTA in regard to the crossing of the right-of-way and getting to the rear lots. And we're not convinced that the creation of a lot for the existing structure at whatever number it is to the east of the site has adequate acreage. So there's confusion as to how they'd accommodate the creation of that new lot and what the impact that would have on the subdivision plan. That's enough, I guess, right? If the preliminary plan is approved, the rules and regulations of the planning board in effect at the time of submission of such preliminary plan shall govern the definitive plan. So, yeah. But no, there hasn't been any effort to reach out, right?
No. All right, so there's a motion and a second. Are we satisfied with the reasoning why, and is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, I'll ask you to vote. Colin McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
All right.
Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. This subdivision is rejected and needs to go back to the applicant.
And
So
they
what?
will get, they'll get a letter to that.
Yeah, we need to craft a
Okay.
letter to that.
Why do I seem to have no information about this?
What'd you say?
That's the problem.
I think they filed paper copies and I think they're sitting down at,
They gave us copies. Those copies were distributed to fire department, police department, highway department. Board of Health got 3 copies. We have a copy. Town clerk has a copy. Who else did I give copies to? Those are the ones that were required to share, I think, so. Those went
Oh,
out.
but I'm,
I don't remember
never
ever
got it.
seeing the plan.
I haven't seen the plan that was submitted to the Board of Health.
You haven't seen the plan
I
submitted?
mean, to the planning board. I've seen the plan that they submitted to conservation.
I mean, normally, the proponent would come in addition to filing the paper copy and giving us a check
Present
Right.
it.
and say, can I come and talk to you?
Right,
And they haven't done that.
right.
right,
And-
if they had done that, I would have made them give us an electronic copy. Which would have
Right.
been-
Right, which I think we need to, when we do our bylaw changes, we need to include a requirement for digital copies as well as physical copies.
I mean, that's what it says in the zoning bylaw. It says you've got to file a digital copy for it to be a complete application for an A&R plan and stuff. But we haven't updated this in decades, so.
Digital what?
So that's why,
I don't think I even have any correspondence from them. Who's the proponent?
Well, Bruce Wheeler, what's the name of the company?
yeah. You showed me the plan that you got.
Yeah, it's somewhere. They are out of North Reading, North Andover. Somewhere in that part of the world.
I got nothing.
You know, I mean, it, yeah, who knows? But anyway, we've taken action.
So who's writing the, or am I writing the decision? And I don't even know who to send it to.
Well, an address should be on the application, right?
I
Who
don't have
has the app?
application either.
Right, who has the application?
In the mailbox.
Maybe I have a paper copy somewhere. Better do. No, not that one.
So, and we're gonna invite them to resubmit and present to us.
I think that's a minimum.
Right.
Hmm. If I had someone's email address, I could send them an email with that information.
Well, Jay, didn't you meet with June and give her a check and she created an account and all that stuff? And
Yeah, because I got a check in an envelope or something with nothing with it.
There wasn't an application with it?
I don't think so. I'll check again. I don't think so, because if there had been, I would have scanned it and it would be in the, in the database here, but.
because I think, I think,
I haven't gone through yet, so maybe.
I think they gave us all the forms and we said to them, because I called their office and
Yeah.
said, we have not got a complete submission because we don't have this and this and this.
Oh, all
She
right.
said-
So maybe I
She
do.
said, who filed this? And I said, well, I don't know. I gave her the address or whatever. And she said, well, I don't think I can help you. And I said, well,
You
then
know what?
fine.
You have
Thank
a-
you very much. And she said, well, wait a minute. Maybe you could give me more information and I could find who the engineer is in the office. So I gave her some more information and she said, okay. And then part of that was that they needed to send a check, which they eventually did. So the date of the submission of the check is when
The clock starts.
you might argue the clock would start. So if Jay knows when he went to June and did those
Okay.
transactions.
Try to find that out, yeah. I do have a drawing. We can see if I have the form. Oh, yeah. Oh. No. No, great. Come on. Hmm. All I'm finding right now is a drawing. But I can keep looking.
Anyway, we'll send him a letter. None of us believe we have an electronic copy, which is, well, I don't know, maybe technically that's not. Mhm, mhm.
Well, I mean, we got plenty of reasons to reject it, right? We just need
Yeah.
to know who to communicate that to.
Who's
Take it in.
on, isn't there a thing on the plan?
It's Dillis and Roy, we know them. Artemis Farm Realty Trust, North Reading. No contact info, but. You know, maybe I'll go visit the mailbox tomorrow and see what we can find. You don't think Tim, you don't have a Form A or some
I
application?
left everything there that
There, okay.
I just distributed the packets because they had multiple packets to the different groups that are supposed to get them because that's one of our responsibilities.
I think I might have been with you then. I remember you doing that, yeah.
Was that one or was that was the next one for Turner Road, I think.
Okay.
Because yeah, we were shipping those around to people.
Yep, right.
Mr. Chair, would you like a motion to adjourn?
Sure.
Are we done?
So you want me to put a notice in the paper for the 8th of July saying we're gonna have a subdivision review, preliminary subdivision review for Turner Road?
I think we need it.
Did- I wonder if, where does it even say we need to hold a hearing?
I don't think it does. I don't think we've held hearings before,
Preliminary, no.
not in preliminaries. On the final, we did.
Oh, before taking any action under section 81T, the planning board shall hold a hearing at which parties of interest shall have an opportunity to hear in person. Notice of the time and place. That's under the
Look what I found.
section for definitive plan, though. There's nothing under. Yeah, I think you're right. We don't have to do a hearing for a preliminary. Okay, so we're fine.
And what'd you find, Jay?
Trying to see if I can figure out how to share it. There it is. Screen 3.
Oh.
Submit definitive plan review, public hearing. Notice. In our residential.
So should those bubbles say planning board approval and Board of Health approval before it goes to submit definitive plan?
No,
So we can reject it and they can still submit a definitive plan?
they can submit a definitive plan without a preliminary. They can skip the preliminary plan if they want.
I see.
Just lengthens the time.
Yeah, if they've submitted a preliminary plan, then we have fewer days with the definitive, right?
Correct. But if
But-
if they submit a preliminary plan and we reject it, and then they submit a definitive plan, my argument is it goes back to 135 days.
Yeah, I
Not-
agree.
They don't get a shortened time frame because they've already done
No.
that one step.
I agree.
So 135 days? This just said-
135 if they have not.
Oh, I see. I see. It's the red part.
Yep.
I see.
So that should say, I should change that so it says if preliminary is approved, right?
Right.
The Board of Health.
90 days if preliminary plan is approved.
Building inspector, streets.
Right.
Yep, okay. So we don't have to have a hearing. A formal hearing. They could come to us on the 28th and we could talk for the Turner Road. one.
Yeah,
Good.
the next step is for them to, unless they want to just meet with us informally, to submit the definitive plan, right?
Yep.
We haven't done that.
The Turner Road folks have submitted a preliminary plan and it's been distributed.
But we didn't vote on it last time. We just talked about how we felt about it.
Yep.
Turner Road.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't post a public hearing. And I'll let you know what I learned from our meetings with the mall proponents.
Awesome.
Yeah, I took I'll write up some notes from the last meeting and send them around to folks. Cause it
Yeah.
and I'll look again at I'll ask Meredith. I think Meredith asked them to give her a copy. So if she's got it, I can get it from her and then we can send it to everybody.
Awesome. It's exciting though that there's so much interest.
Well, I think they clearly understand that it's located between the two largest cities in New England on a major interstate highway that has access to another one, and you can be in Maine, New Hampshire, Rhode Island or Connecticut in an hour, or Boston. I mean, it's a pretty good location. And you can get in and out of it anytime, so.
Yeah, the access to the highways is definitely easy.
Well, and as he said, you've got power, and there was a broker from Shrewsbury that was there that's handling the sale or helping with the sale, and he said he could only think of 2 places within 25 miles of here that had right now this type of, well, 30 to 40 to 50 to 70,000 square feet of available space that had power on the site. Power was the big thing they kept talking about.
Right.
So I thought, wow, I hadn't appreciated that as much as I probably should have.
Maybe they want to put in a crypto mining.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, geez, there wouldn't be enough power for that, I guess. Huh?
Well, they got the water from the river down there. They can.
Hey, hey, hey. You leave my river alone.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second, and it's
Mark, yeah.
non-debatable. So I'll ask you to vote. Colin McDonald,
Aye.
Timothy Wheeler,
Aye.
Jay Teach,
Aye.
Tom Sanford, aye. Motion carries unanimous. We are adjourned.